there are narratives where the women also say, and they say, I wish I had the death penalty because living here is even worse for me. So in that kind of, and some people where they want to be euthanized, or they say that I cannot bear, waiting another day for my execution. So in that, how does this argument hold up then, in that case? Which
Just a
is a worse
second.
punishment?
I think she had a question for a very long
Sorry,
time.
Vani.
Yeah, please.
No, that's fine.
I'm just responding to your point.
No, I think you've touched upon some of the questions. I think that this set of films actually made you think about a lot of things. I don't think it's simply only about death penalty or simply only about acid attack or simply about life and death. These really complex things into our position on the fact that the state should not have that power. That I don't think that's in question. But when we say therefore give them life imprisonment, what do we mean by that? I think a lot needs to be reimagined along with that debate. Otherwise, that may be one of the reasons we're not able to strike a resonance in widening this discussion on death penalty.
But while you say that, we need to consider it on a case to case, or on a no. While you say that, we need to consider it on a case to case, as well as a class, as well a caste basis, because actually what goes on, when death penalty is awarded, is very biased. So we don't have any such. So while you talk about sensitization, I know what you are talking about. You're talking about sensitization and dealing with death penalty, keeping what the punishment means also in mind.
One is to problematize. No, can I just to say that, do we need to further problematize or complicate whatever? No, the whole question of how we look at death penalty in itself. I have a bit of a issue with the example that you gave, that each one of them actually in their letters say that we would rather die. Okay. Now, when you talk about death penalty, you're not talking about death penalty in isolation. You're also talking about a criminal law reform. Okay, and also on the whole relationship between crime and punishment. I mean, since the films only deal with death penalty, I guess we're only looking at that. I mean, there are also other prison reforms on how we treat the criminals, what are the kind of, which one is not really going into. Obviously, I think there's an overemphasis, this was my understanding, overemphasis on the fact that each one of them say that we want to die is because of the conditions in the, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I didn't want to leave it halfway, because then that kind of then says, but people rather die. That the situation in prisons are so terrible. I mean, solitary. Sorry to quote, but Sanjay Dutt, I mean, I remember watching one of his interviews, and he talks in detail about, because very few people we have who talk about this whole solitary confinement. I think Arun has done that now. Where he's literally counting the number of ants in the room, kind of a thing. So yes, it is. So everyone, I mean, I think at a very, very foundational, basic level, there is a whole critiquing of the criminal justice system itself. I mean, especially I think while, yes, feminists have always resorted to addressing crimes against women or violence against women by asking for a criminal law, there is also a discomfort with criminal law itself. I mean, for example, why the whole need of the Domestic Violence Act in itself was to say, can we redefine law? Can we find something between civil, which is to that extent a remedy-based kind of a thing, and criminal law, which talks about crime and punishment? Is there a possibility of finding something in between? And I think one is constantly experimenting with that. But the discussion, whatever remained in to death penalty, was only because the films dealt with it. And I mean, the question of violence too, I think the second one I also thought was quite interesting, because very recently I went back to my village, and my nephew my cousin's son had come back from school. I think he was in 7th standard or something. They're in a hostel, so they come back home. He was watching, he was online, and he was watching these ISIS, whatever, those beheadings. And actually he's saying, Mama, I found the video, come, let's watch it. So you actually have the mother, father, and this 12 or 13-year-old child actually watching that video. I didn't even know it was still there. Then I had to like actually talk to them and say that, I mean, what is this kind of violence? So I mean, I think so. It's very interesting. I think when filmmakers are kind of making those choices in the form itself, because just watching television every day, the news channels, I mean, kind of desensitizes us. So I think that's also a challenge. I mean, like you said, how you decided not to show that.
See, in the films, generally the decisions are taken in very conscious manner, and what you want to put because you have a limited time space, and in a bigger picture, maybe you don't want to preach someone, but you want to leave a mark. Yeah, and this is a kind of open-ended thing to the person watching, and form a certain kind of point of view on each and everything. That's why there is a variety in cinema that is coming up, and people are touching different things which has not been yet dealt, and it's a decision to make it front and all.
In Article 61, one thing that really struck me was the article is also their defense of chastity and the relation between honor and what it means in law and moral policing. These are all the debates that we are right now very closely engaging with. And I thought that if we could also discuss that, because all of them are defending themselves, saying that we did it only because we were being attacked. So self-defense is one thing, but defense of chastity, it has other connotations to it. So any comments on that?
She even says, "Don't make me a prostitute," And I found that jarred again, because are we saying a prostitute should not have a chance to defend herself because she's not chaste? So that is a very problematic law, I feel, in itself.
I mean, a lot. Whenever you say this was not dealt with or that was not, everything can't be made in one film, So I guess, no, I'm just saying. So I guess the focus was, of course, the whole section and how it somehow doesn't work for women. I mean, and they're still there. Chastity in India also is a very, very big issue. The whole question of women and morality comes in the context of maintenance in the personal law. Where a woman has to prove that she has been this true good wife who has been a very chaste wife at one level. Two is also in the whole question of adultery as an offense, where the woman is not, I mean, if a wife is having an affair with someone else, then the husband can file a criminal case against the man, because woman and her body and her whatever is looked at as his property, and that the other man has actually literally being accused of theft of his of her property. Even when you look at this Article 61, I think it says that property, chastity, honor, so it comes all together in that sense. So there's that whole yes, I mean, and the struggle has also been to remove that whole question of morality and from the law in itself. I mean, even a lot of times when you read petitions where women are approaching the law, like we say that every time a woman approaches the law, then you're actually constructing a particular kind of woman, where you tell the woman to come dressed in a particular way. I mean, so there was this one particular woman where she's filing for maintenance. And then we said, hey, just come in a salwar kameez and all, okay? Because she comes to office in these really short shorts and, whatever, and wearing these, whatever they call spaghetti things. And you can't come to court like that. So it's not just what is there in law, but our own minds and what we're constructing. Because she has to, every victim or a survivor has to look like she is entitled or she deserves that justice. It's very easy to give justice to a really poor woman, I mean, with 5 children and, whatever. Then everybody understands she's beaten, you're seeing, I mean, it gets a little more and more complicated when class, caste and religion comes into it. I mean, also, for example, when you see women prisoners, because you see these women who have committed offenses. Even when you see, I mean, there are a lot of studies done of women prisoners. I mean, a lot of women who have been accused, even in Indian Indian courts of killing their husbands, etc. Whenever a man is I mean, if he's beaten his wife and he's in for under 498A, which makes domestic violence an offense, what happens is that the entire family will, kind of garner support and will support him, find a lawyer, etc., etc. A lot of women are in prisons as under trials, because when they are accused of killing their husbands, obviously the husband's family is not going to come and find support for you or whatever. And her parental family also does not, because then they don't want her to be released, and then whatever that then she becomes their responsibility, either for property or for very maintenance itself. So in that sense, it's what this film, I mean, is that whole connection between how law plays out, I mean, differently for that gender is a very relevant and important element, even in, in the delivery of justice itself, and what justice itself means. Like she says, slippery fellow.